Ladies, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. We heard what happened in Niamey, where a group of people attacked the airport in Niger, where the uranium that was seized from France was kept. And we heard the subsequent things that are all in all brought out, whereby the people that were apprehended openly told the world, the backers who were after this uranium, because France claims that the uranium belongs to them. So this is practically the uranium battle or the uranium war. African Union finally found its voice to speak, but critics say that African Union communique did not address the root cause of the problem. And what is speech without actions? Where they expected African Union to point and highlight and fight against, this organization failed once again. So, they expect African Union to be bold enough to fight for the people that they are representing. And the analysts are addressing the issue from historical point of view to the current situation now in Niger. We all know that African Union as an organization has failed us woefully. Wherever we expect the Union to act, that is where African Union is always silent.
Yes, hello to each and every one of you. I would like to say a few words after having read the communique of the African Union on their tyrannical imperialist aggression that Niger has just suffered. I greet you from Bamako. It is February 1st, 2026. And I would like to say a few words after having read the communique. Of the African Union following the aggression. The tyrannical imperialist aggression suffered by the Republic of Niger. Thank you all for kindly sharing this brief conversation. The weather is magnificent here in Bamako, in the blessed African land of Mali, and I would like to transmit to you the positive vibrations of eternal Africa. Thank you all for sharing this short address at imperative time in Bamako. I greet you at UNICEF, across Mali, across the whole Sahel. I greet you, my friends from all the countries of the Confederation, of the Alliance of Sahel States, my friends from all the African countries. I greet you, you who are in the diasporas, in Europe, in America, in Asia, you who are in the islands of the Great Atlantic and Indian Oceans. I would like to touch on a few words after having read the communique signed by the African Union following the tyrannical imperialist aggressions suffered by Niger. The communique published by the African Union, of which I have put a copy on my Facebook page and which you can read, if you so wish, after my address. This communique merely confines itself to condemning the terrorist aggression suffered by the Republic of Niger on the occasion of the attack in the night of January 28th to 29th, 2026 on Hamani Diori Airport in Niamey. So, the communique of the African Union really sticks to the principle of condemnation. It denounces this act and considers that this act is contrary to the general principles of international law, and that it is an act that is an attack on peace, on the security of an African country. But there is something incredible that One sees once again in this communique of the African Union, it is that nowhere in the communique is it mentioned, on the basis of the official revelations of the Nigerian authorities. It is mentioned nowhere in the communique, the real sponsors of the terrorist aggression that Africa is suffering. And this terrorist aggression that it is suffering, Africa is an imperialist aggression, whose triggering blow, the starting point, was the sacking of Libya in 2011 by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, subtitling FR 2021. NATO is responsible for the great destabilization that Africa has been suffering since the beginning of the 2000s up to this year 2026. It is NATO that created the two terrorist organizations, Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. In good understanding with the powers of the Middle East, they attacked Libya using Libya, the pretext of democracy, whereas in reality, it was a matter of plundering Libya's oil reserves. It was a matter of preventing the Libyan guide, Muammar al-Gaddafi, who was at the head of the most prosperous country in Africa, from setting up a continental gold dinar currency, which would quite naturally have dethroned the supremacy of the dollar, of the euro and of the CFA franc, as was revealed by the emails of Mrs. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Everyone knows, with the benefit of hindsight, that the great aggression by NATO against Libya, which lasted 6 months and took place despite all the calls from several African voices, who drew the attention of the great powers of the West to the consequences of the sacking of Libya on peace and security on the continent. This aggression, everyone knows that it was carried out by NATO. From Barack Obama, from Nicolas Paul, Stephen Sarkozy, from Nagui Boksha, from David Cameron, and that it is an act of aggression that was carried out in association with NATO's two mercenary organizations, namely the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. It is in association with these two groups of mercenaries that NATO devastated Libya, and once the devastation of Libya was carried out, NATO organized the invasion of the Sahel by these same mercenary groups, who specifically attacked Niamey from January 28 to 29, 2026. We know exactly who is attacking Niger, who is attacking Burkina Faso, who is attacking Mali. We know who is attacking northern Cameroon, Nigeria, who is attacking northern Benin. We know who is attacking northern Togo. We know who is attacking Chad, who is attacking Mozambique. We know who is attacking the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The African continent is no longer in ignorance of the real origin of the destabilization of its territory. How can you understand that then? That everyone knows it was NATO that created Al-Qaeda, notably the great American power. Everyone knows, and Donald Trump acknowledged it as early as 2016, that the organization of the Islamic State is an emanation of NATO, notably of the great American power and its Middle Eastern allies. Everyone knows that the two major terrorist organizations work closely with the top intelligence agencies of the US, France, and Britain, with the top European intelligence agencies. The two major terrorist organizations are in close cooperation with the top intelligence agencies, with Western strategists. This truth is alive in 2026. How can one understand that an organization claiming to be the African Union, an organization stemming from the unity of Africa, how can one imagine that this organization gather to denounce an imperialist terrorist attack against Niger, and is not able to name the real sponsors that Niger has nevertheless clearly designated? Niger has said, it is Macron's France. It is Talon's Benin. It is Ouattara's Côte d'Ivoire. an organization that calls itself continental, should take these accusations seriously, and at a minimum, if it cannot recognize the truth of these accusations, it should at the very least immediately open an international commission of inquiry to verify the accusations that Niger has made through its highest official, the President of the Republic of Niger, His Excellency, Mr. General Abdurrahman Chiani. But here the African Union comes out. It washes its hands of it. It indulges in Pontius Pilate-style pity, in Pharisaism, in total hypocrisy. It acts as if it does not know that Niger has clearly said that the mercenaries who attacked Niamey did so under the sponsorship of Emmanuel Macron for France, of Patrice Talon for Benin, and of Alassane Dramane Ouattara for Côte d'Ivoire. The African Union should, at a minimum, at that moment, send a delegation to ask the Nigerian authorities, what you have said is very serious. Give us the proof that it is Macron and France. It is Talon and Benin. It is Ouattara, Dramane and Côte d'Ivoire who, as such, are behind this attack. And we are going to urgently convene the Peace Council.
This organization can only act in speech. We cannot pretend that we don't know what is happening. Let's take Ghana for instance, who overthrown Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It was the same West according to sources. It was the United States of America. Through Kotoka, they took out Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So we know how these things are working. Thomas Sankara, it was the same thing. The CIA, according to reports. And we heard clearly that the confessors made it clear to the whole world that it was France, Ivory Coast, and Benin that were behind. Yet, African Union couldn't address the situation that needs to be addressed. What is the essence of these words without actions? We ask you. What an organization are you that cannot fight to protect your people? Why should we have an organization that can never speak for us in the first place? Is it not better we live without knowing we have an organization? Because this organization isn't protecting the interests of Africa. This organization was formed to fight for us, but it turns out that this organization is rather not working for the interests of the people. And how can we have an organization that about 70% of its funding is coming from the oppressor? The same people you claim you are fighting to reclaim your freedom. If these are the people that are funding you, how do we fight to get the freedom that we are looking for in the world? And for how long must we continue to be deceiving ourselves? Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and not only these nations, but other parts of African countries, wherever there is an issue concerning an African nation, that we expect this organization to speak and defend the people, like we have seen EU did when it came to Greenland. African Union is always quiet. African Union would rather prefer to be fighting for the size of a map that has no benefit for the people in Africa, instead of speaking and fighting for concrete things that are happening in the continent. Look at what is happening in Sudan. Look at what is happening in Congo. Look at what is happening all over us in Africa. Yet we have an organization that the voice is only loud but can never raise a hand. And we need actions. We need actions. Like some world leaders are saying, there are leaders in this world who can only talk but they can never back them with actions. It's just like African Union. What happened in Niamey supposed not to happen, because this is what these people have been doing. And we don't have to pretend that these things that are all in us, the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are bringing out are cooked stories. Because we know per history the people that are behind the destabilization of Africa. Even if we don't know anything, we saw what happened in Libya. under Muammar Gaddafi and how they took the president Muammar Gaddafi out. African Union could not fight. The same people who promised the Libyans a better life, where are they? Look at the pain, the suffering the people in Libya are going through. And for how long will you, an organization like an African Union, only represent us in speech? Where there is something happening to a country that we need this organization to voice out. That is where this organization is quiet. It's like every nation must fight his or her own battle. Then why do we have an organization called African Union at the first place? We need to wake up. We really need to wake up. And we need to understand that we are the only people that can fight for ourselves. And if the organization isn't doing the bid of the people, then no wonder other people are calling for this organization to be dissolved. We saw how Europe came out to defend Greenland. How they were willing to fight with the United States of America just to protect their territory. Yet, we have an organization called African Union that can never go to any length to protect the people. The only thing African Union is best is to give sanctions to people who are rising to fight for total liberation. All African Union is thinking about is democracy, where we know under that system, people are benefiting and the system is not benefiting us. We've seen how our leaders are not accountable. Things are destroying under the system called democracy. And is this what you want for us? If this is what you want for us as leaders, we the youth are telling you that this is not what we want for ourselves. Our lives matter. And every leader who is rising to save the people in Africa deserves to live. And that is why Bob Marley asked you, for how long will you stand aloof for your prophets to be taken out? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.